2015, episode 13, and I'm your host, Dean Jones. I want to wish you all a wonderful new year as we continue on with another year of the podcast. When I began, I never thought I'd have the chance to talk to so many wonderful guests, and today's guest is no exception. Today I'm speaking with Lenzy Ruffin, who owns the Cooking Show Accelerator. I'm going to be talking to him about his insights on how food industry professionals can use a cooking show on YouTube as a platform for educating, entertaining, and for affecting change in the food industry. Lenzy is a cooking show advisor for Park Road Studios. He specializes in teaching chefs how to use YouTube to host a weekly cooking show on TV. Lenzy is on a mission to change our relationship with food. He believes we can make better food choices for both our personal health as well as the health for the planet. Lenzy's strategy for achieving this is to teach chefs how to host a revenue-generating cooking show so they can earn a great living by teaching people how to eat healthy, real food. I'm going to take you now to my conversation with Lenzy Ruffin.
Welcome to the Well Seasoned Librarian Podcast. Today, we're speaking with Lenzy Ruffin, who is a cooking show advisor for Park Road Studios. Lenzy, thank you for being on the podcast.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Can you tell us a little bit about yourself and where you're from?
Sure. I'm from Washington, D.C. Have a pretty varied career at this point. I went to college for computers, and I went on an ROTC scholarship. So I graduated, went to the Army for 4 years, and then I was able to begin my computer career. And I did that, got another degree along the way, and spent about 15 years doing that, and then hit the wall and decided I couldn't do it anymore. And I developed a love for photography along the way. And that's how I started a headshot photography business, which then turned into an event photography business. And then I had to learn marketing to learn how to make videos to promote my business. And I ended up having a side hustle within my own business where I was teaching other business owners how to use video to market their businesses. And then eventually that took over, and I abandoned the photography and focused exclusively on working with business owners to create marketing videos for their businesses. And then that just kind of evolved into me doing cooking shows. So it's just kind of this long, meandering journey. But I would say it's probably not much different than most of us at who reach this stage of life. You end up doing a bunch of different things along the way.
Can you tell us a little bit about how you got involved in teaching chefs to create cooking shows? From where you're talking about now, where did you take the leap to teaching chefs to create cooking shows?
It started as a personal challenge where I was sitting at home one Saturday watching PBS, and there was a cooking show on TV. And I just, for some reason, there was a voice saying, you know what, you can do this as good or better. And I took it as a personal challenge to create a cooking show that looked as good or better than the one I was looking at on TV. So I reached out and found a local chef. At that time, I didn't know any chef. I didn't know a single chef. And so I had to do some outreach to find one. And I found one that agreed, and we did a cooking show. We produced it out of her apartment, and we did almost 100 episodes, I think. It was quite a number of them, just as a personal, just something I just wanted to do it to see if I could do it. And, going through the process of making it better and better, looking at what I had created and, okay, how can I make this better? How can I, and so that's really where it started, as a personal challenge.
Now, you also have another interest in this that's kind of intertwined, which is using cooking shows to educate people about healthy eating. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, that came much, much later, actually. The cooking show, the personal challenge was just that. I ended it, it was something that I did for a while and then stopped and just went on with the other things that I was normally doing. And then the pandemic happened. And that's when I started thinking about cooking shows as a business activity, because I saw all of these restaurants closing. It was on the news every day. All of these restaurants were closing because of the pandemic. So that was when I looked at using a cooking show as a tool for teaching chefs how to earn revenue online. And so that's when I started doing it, focusing on it exclusively as a business. And then as I just went farther into it, into the world of food, and then becoming educated on our food systems, our food safety systems, and seeing how ultra processed food has just taken over our diet. It's 60 to 80% of the calories that we consume on a daily basis, depending on who you ask. And looking at the health implications of that, ultra processed food started. They created it starting in the 90s, and since then you can see the trajectory, the skyrocketing trajectory of obesity, diabetes, high blood pressure in not just older people who used to get those things, but in young people who never used to get these things. And so that was when the cooking show took on a different meaning. It was instead of it just being a tool for economic empowerment for chefs. Some of those folks are really trapped in bad situations in commercial kitchens, working too many hours and such. And this was a way to teach them how to earn a living a different way. It went from just that to, okay, we really need food education in this country because our grocery stores are packed with bad food, just not real food. And they can put anything they want on the box. They can say healthy, it can say organic, and they can get away with that because these terms are unregulated. So you can think you're buying healthy food and you're not. And you're wondering why you can't keep your weight under control. And you get developing these chronic conditions, high blood pressure, diabetes, and now you end up on medication. And it's just this really toxic, unhealthy cycle that is specifically because of what we eat. Stroke is the fourth leading cause of death in the United States, according to the CDC. And the CDC also tells us that 80% of strokes are preventable through dietary changes. So we're literally eating ourselves to death and disability, and we can change it by changing what we eat. And so now I'm looking at a cooking show as really a public health tool for educating people about how to eat healthy and doing it in a fun way. Like a cooking show, you don't have to beat people over the head with statistics and math and all this other stuff. You can just show people how to eat healthy and do it in an entertaining manner, injecting your personality and just having fun with it, teaching people how to eat to live. So that's really what my approach to it is now.
There are a lot of people, I think, that think they would like to have a cooking show. A lot of chefs, people who are cookbook authors. I know that I talk to a lot of people who all they have an idea that they would like to have a show. When you have a conversation with somebody about this, where do you guys begin?
I usually start with what is their objective? What are they really trying to accomplish? Because in most instances, it's really not about the cooking show. They're using the cooking show to accomplish some greater goal. For some people, it's about some people want to quit their job and they want to run a business from their home, and you can do that with a cooking show. There's some professional chefs who, well, many, if they've been in the business for 10 years or longer, it's a hard business. So they're looking for a way out, especially the more seasoned ones that's been around 20, 30 years in the industry. It's a physically demanding business. So they're looking at, okay, what's my retirement strategy going to be? Particularly restaurant owners. They know they cannot keep doing that forever. So I start with, why are you doing this? What do you want to get out of this cooking show? And then the motivation helps me determine what, give them some guidance from there. But we always begin the conversation with what are you trying to accomplish here? Why are you doing this?
I watch a lot of cooking shows on YouTube, and I really like watching them, but I really notice there are differences in the different types of them, and some of them are very much better than others. So what do you think, what are your key elements in your mind to a successful cooking show?
Consistency. That's the number one thing. What I see, particularly with professional chefs, is, and the reason why most of them will never have a cooking show, is because they overthink it. They try to make it into this perfect grand production, like it's like they want to create Las Vegas with their very first cooking show, and that's just not how it works. You got to get started and then improve on it, and you can get it to what you want it to be. But out of the gate, you're not going to have a Hollywood quality production with just you when you don't know anything. So the first thing is you have to get started. You start where you are, and then you improve upon it. And after that, the second most important thing is consistency, showing up every week. And what you pointed out was those bad shows, or not necessarily not great shows that you see, but at least you see them. Like
Yeah.
I've had too many conversations with chefs who have been trained in the best culinary academies in the world, and they run commercial kitchens, restaurant groups, and such, and they don't have a cooking show. Whereas this person who's not great, they have a cooking show that people are watching because they actually show up, stand in front of the camera, and cook. So it doesn't being great is less important than being consistent. Show up with whatever you have, and you will find an audience, and then you give yourself the opportunity to improve over time. But too many chefs, especially the professionals, are worrying about looking bad, and then they end up being completely invisible because they put out nothing at all.
I read so many stats about how young people watch YouTube more than television or anything else.
Not
Do you
young
think that?
people, everybody.
Yeah, I guess that's true. That's true. I know I watch an increasingly larger amount of YouTube, and I pretty much get most of my cooking shows off of YouTube. And I have a lot of favorites that I watch on repeat. Do you think that it's a really great forum that people are overlooking this forum for teaching healthy eating?
Absolutely. Again, especially the professional chefs who are our really target. YouTube is the number one TV streaming app in US households, not Netflix. Netflix is number two. YouTube is number one. So if you have a cooking show on YouTube, you have a cooking show on TV. It's not just young people watching, everybody. That number encompasses everybody from the Nielsen group. So it is a tremendous opportunity that just didn't exist just a few years ago. If you go back just 10 years ago, you couldn't just put yourself on TV like you can now. Now, if you have a YouTube cooking show and you show up once a week, you have a cooking show on TV every week. You can build an audience. You can grow your restaurant. If you have a physical restaurant and you know you're a restaurateur, there's no better marketing platform for a chef than hosting your own cooking show where you get to be who you are, deliver your philosophy on food however you see fit. And we've just never had this before. Now we do. And so it's a huge opportunity that most chefs overlook. You see everybody on Instagram. Everybody's posting stuff on Instagram, but full length cooking shows, the kind like we grew up watching, the kind that some people who are now professionals learned how to cook and got their inspiration to join the culinary industry from watching, those are almost non-existent on TV. Everything now is cooking competitions with the manufactured drama,
Yeah.
uh, and that is not. And you're not teaching people how to cook.
Yeah.
They're not teaching people how to cook. So if you actually want a old school Julia Child type cooking show, good luck finding that on TV. But they're all over YouTube, and anybody can have one who's willing to show up.
Now, the audience can't see you. This is audio, and to me, you look very healthy and very fit. What are your own personal experiences with food and health?
That looking healthy and fit means nothing. I have too many people. Basically, everything that you can have bad happen to you from not eating right. That stuff is in my family.
Yeah.
The both genders, both sides, older, especially the older men in my family, the women as well, and now we're seeing the younger people in my family. I have cousins on both sides, second cousins younger than me. So these guys are 10, 15 years younger than me. I got one that had a massive stroke.
Oh my God.
And he's now in a wheelchair for the rest of his life. I had another one who on the other side of my family, that was on my father's side. On my mother's side of the family, I have one younger than me who's uh he had to get diabetic amputation on his foot.
Okay.
Again, these are guys younger, 10, 15 years younger than me. So looking the part, looking healthy doesn't mean anything what you got going on internally is really what's significant. And going back to this percentage of ultra processed food in our diet, 60 to 80% of our calories on a daily basis, that's where you're seeing this high incidence of uh, chronic disease. Diabetic amputations, that used to be something that you worried about with old people.
Yeah.
And now that's just not the case.
Yeah. What advice would you give to somebody who wants to start making the switch to healthier food?
Find a chef on YouTube or a home cook on YouTube who is teaching healthy eating. That's the easiest way. If you they're going to give you guidance, they're going to be able to refer you to books, resources. Just see, there's no better. YouTube is the greatest invention of the internet, in my opinion. And that's from a guy that's 2 IT degrees, spent a career got my first computer in 87 or 88. And YouTube is the single greatest contribution I believe the internet has given us, because it's the greatest information exchange that we've ever had, where just any individual who has knowledge to share can share it with the world. And we have people all over the world doing that. So somebody who wants to eat healthy, I would say search YouTube for cooking channels, and then you will find somebody whose style you resonate with, and then you can learn from it. You'll find a number of those people, and then subscribe to their channels and go along with what they teach you.
Do you have any personal favorites on YouTube? I know that's kind of a curveball question. I'm sorry.
No, it's not. It's because if I cannot do it and be unbiased. Like the people.
That's a good point. I didn't think of that. Yeah.
The people I train. There's one channel I will give. Well, so there's one, Motherland Kitchen. That's Chef Sabina Jules. She's Cameroonian. She teaches she teaches Afro-Caribbean cuisine. And what she's doing is she's heavily vegan focused. So she takes a lot of traditional meat-based Afro-Caribbean dishes and converts them to vegan versions. So a lot of people will enjoy her channel. Even if you're an experienced chef, she's going to teach you stuff that you didn't know. And she's cooking with primarily, herbs and spices. She does her own spice blends. So no salt cooking is her thing. She does no oil as well. So she teaches you. I've never had vegetables that good. I did not know before I met her. I did not know vegetables could taste that good. And so I'm gonna single her out as the one, even though I have other ones. I'm gonna single her out because she's doing some really innovative stuff with vegetables that people really should check out.
What do you think your hopes are for the future of food education and public health?
My hope is that more chefs take up the call to action and do what they're capable of doing. I meet so many through my work who have so much knowledge that they're not sharing because they're afraid to stand in front of a camera for some reason, or they have whatever it is stopping them. And my hope is that they take up the call to action, because we are in a man, it cannot be overstated, the crisis that we're in. The what we're eating is putting us into ill health, and we have the worst healthcare system in the world. So we have to do something, and the government's not going to do it for us. So it's my hope is that individual chefs, home cooks, folks will recognize what's happening, open their eyes, and decide that they're going to do something about it, and we can take control of our health. It's what you put into your mouth is entirely up to you.
Lenzy, I want to thank you for being on the podcast. I've really enjoyed getting a chance to talk to you. And I agree with you wholeheartedly. I believe that YouTube is becoming a great teaching venue. And I think it's going to be able to teach a lot of people. I mean, I know I use it as a resource for cooking, and my son does too. And I watch him use it all the time. And he's a younger person. So I think this is going to be a really good tool for people in the future. Lenzy, thank you for being on the podcast. And we're going to put a link to your resources on our bio, so people can look to that in the bio. Lenzy,
Thank
thank
you
you for
so
being on the
much for having me,
podcast.
Dean. Appreciate it.
That's all the time we have today on the Well Seasoned Librarian Podcast. I want to thank my guest, Lenzy Ruffin, for being here today to talk about the Park Road Studios Cooking Show Accelerator. We have a link to that in the bio. Tune in for more episodes this week on the Well Seasoned Librarian Podcast. Until then, I'll see